If you want to get ahead in volleyball, if you want to improve and be better, you can't afford to be inefficient with your time. You can't afford to not put in the work. You may not be where you want to be compared to others right now, but as Dan Walshmitz once said, the only thing standing between you and outrageous success is continuous progress. Hi, I'm Coach Chappie, and in this video, I'm going to be talking through how you can make year-on-year improvements and get ahead of the game. Alright, so let's talk about what does getting ahead of the game actually mean for you? Have a think about what you're trying to achieve in your playing career. Are you chasing the highest division of play possible? Or are you just trying to be as competitive as possible? Are these 2 points the same goal? Do they actually mean the same thing? I'll present a scenario for you. Imagine you're playing at a much higher division than you currently are. What a dream scenario. You're facing a serve that comes at a pace you've never faced before. But at this level, this is the norm. You're being served at over and over. You can't make a good pass and your team can't side out. Every point in this match is a struggle to earn for your team. You've made it to a higher division, but are you ahead of the game? Now I'll present another scenario to you. You're selected for a division that you feel you're too good for based on the rest of the competition. Your season begins, and you're currently first, having won every match. However, this weekend you play another team that is currently tied first. The opponent is similar skill to your team, and in this match, the serving is quite challenging. You're actually forced to bail out and save the ball at times. The opponent's block and defense is also good, and in this match you're forced to use tips, hit high hands, and find different gaps on the court. The opposing team is actively pushing you to the boundaries of your capability throughout this match, and you're forced to use all your current available toolkit. This match is what one would call truly competitive. And unfortunately, even though you try your best, your team loses. But although you lost, you were pushed to your limits, forced to adapt, and found the best version of yourself. Here's the thing, playing the highest division possible and being as competitive as possible don't always mean the same thing. If getting ahead of the game means simply playing the highest division possible, then you can always select a weaker club where there is less competition, because that will ensure that you are placed at a higher division than you would if you were playing at a larger club. But does that mean you're actually improving? In order to truly get ahead of the game, you need to be appropriately challenged, which means you need to be as competitive as possible, competitive at a level of play that allows you to adapt and find the best version of yourself. So taking this in mind, what does it actually mean to find the best version of yourself? How do we prioritize that? Well, let me present some items to think about and see if you can find the answer. Think of all those playing around you over your playing career. How many of them are now playing in a higher division? How many have maintained their current division? How many are playing lower divisions now or have quit? Now, with these same individuals in mind, think about how many of them are now performing at a higher level, how many are performing at the same level, and how many are performing at a lower level. Do you think these players belong in the division they're playing based on their performance right now? The reality is, competition is decided by how you perform against your peers, and our game is always evolving with the standard constantly improving. You know, the quality of play at a specific division years ago is not the same as it is now. I mean, just look at the international game and how it's evolved in tempo, strategy, and athleticism over the years. This means, year on year, in order to maintain your division, you actually need to improve just to keep up. And subsequently, to play a high division, it isn't enough to just simply improve. You actually need to outdevelop those that were already in front of you and push them out. This is what it means to find the best version of yourself. You need to prioritize things in your control, like your development and capability, rather than focusing on things outside of your control, like what division you or others are selected for, because in the end of the day, that's all noise that will blind you to what's needed to maintain or increase your level of performance and division of play. Now, we understand that development is your key to success, and in order to get ahead, you need to be out improving others. So let's actually talk about how you do that though. For most athletes, there will be a preseason, in-season, and off-season. Pre-season is about learning to connect and play as a team, finding familiarity in how each person communicates and plays. During this phase, you'll likely also establish expectations on the roles and responsibilities of each player and what structure the team is following. An example would be like setting the expectation that your libero should take every free ball. For in-season training, the priority is setting your team up for success against the competition or the league. During this time, the work is generally team and game specific. You may actively work on bringing up your team's strengths or weaknesses, but the context is always your competition. This may look like certain defensive structures to play against where the majority of balls are attacked in your league, or offensive schemes that can take advantage of the opponent's weaknesses. Lastly, we have off-season. This is a period where you're not actively playing in competition. You do not need to prioritize your ability to gel or perform in a specific team, as there's no competition to play against. During off-season, you can actively focus on improving your individual capability, whether that be new skills on the court or your physical capacity in the gym. Now, if the priority of pre and in-season is to develop as a team and be competitive in a league, what does that mean for people who only participate in competition? Can you think of an answer? I'll give you an example to digest. Imagine you're in a competitive team in season currently. You've been wanting to work on a jump topspin serve, but since it's new to you, you're fairly inconsistent in accuracy and success rate. Now, the coach's serving plan for the team has been to only serve either sideline. What do you think happens if you continue to work on your jump topspin serve in training and in games? This is the challenge for players that only participate in competition training. You'll face struggle with balancing your individual development, and it may impact the team's cohesion and performance in season. This is where the true value of off-season comes in. When you're not in a currently competing team, you can attempt to try and experience new things without the fear of letting your team down or impacting your season. You can apply these changes in game settings where there's no pressure to win. So this thought of getting ahead by having an off-season to play and train more than others seems obvious, but I do want to highlight that the improvement isn't always guaranteed, and you need to be effective with your time and understand how best to utilize the off-season. This leads us into our next point. How do you utilize the off-season, and how do you best transfer your learning into gameplay? With how popular volleyball is becoming as of recent times, I'm sure you've either seen or attended a volleyball clinic at some point. You would have been taught new methods or new thought processes on how to do things and been excited to use it in your games. However, for most of us, although we're super eager to use our newly learnt skills, it doesn't always seem to transfer over to our games. Why is this the case? Well, let's take a look at traditional training and sport. When you are typically learning a new skill, we perform it with a lot of repetition. We usually target these items in an isolated, controlled environment to make sure we're able to do it correctly, and then we do it over and over again until it feels automatic. This is what is called blocked practice, and at least in the session, it feels like it's quite effective, as we're able to get the outcome we want again and again. However, if you think of our sport, is our game played in the same manner as the style of training? No. It's not. Our game is actually quite varied and uncontrolled. In a match, we are constantly responding to stimulus and making decisions even if they are subconscious. So, although with a blocked practice session, you may work on passing 100 down balls with your new technique and see effective changes happen before your eyes, you're not actually having effective embedment. You're not making a decision to use that technique as each rep goes on. You're not training with the variability that exists in the context of our sport. So that makes sense. If blocked practice doesn't have the best transfer to the game because it's not emulating our sport, nor are we challenged to make decisions, then why don't we just train in a random game-like manner only? This would perfectly emulate the context of our sport and allow the best transfer of learning, right? Well, yes and no. Whilst random practice, which is adding variability to training, may better provide retention and transfer of learning, it does also come at the cost of a slower learning. In these varied environments, it is often difficult to apply the changes that you're working on, as there are a number of different factors outside of just the change that you're trying to make. Think about trying to change your passing technique while someone is serving a ball at you, or serving different spots. The variability of the float and location may make it difficult to execute what you're trying to do. Now, if we understand that blocked practice allows rapid learning, but generally has poor retention and transfer, whilst random practice has slow learning, but good retention and transfer, then the answer is to have a balanced practice. We tread a fine line between the two and progress from a blocked practice into a random practice. This way, you build familiarity with your changes in blocked practice, and then you challenge yourself with random practice. This is a more effective way of learning than purely one or the other. If we apply all these learnings to our game, then the optimal way to develop and get ahead is to attend off-season and select a few items you wish to work on or change. Then, you approach your off-season training in this manner with a balanced approach of repetition and game-like play, which will ensure that you can build on your individual skills and apply them in a game. One call out though, is that you shouldn't be disheartened if you're struggling to implement your changes in random practice. Although you cannot see the same level of actual improvement compared to a blocked practice, studies have shown that the end result can provide higher performance increases than a blocked practice only, as variability and context is what builds transfer. If you're wondering what you should be working on in the off-season, check out my video here on an improvement framework for volleyball. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe. I plan to continue adding to this series of coaching the game to give you all the tools to take control of your own journey. In the interim though, if you have any specific topics you want to discuss or me to do a video on, please leave me a comment. But until then, be seeing you.